Sex, porn, love addiction is all about self-soothing to manage your emotions. It got set up back in the childhood development years. It's just not about sex. It's not about porn. It's all about the repeated use has set up the physiology to crave those dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, self-manufactured drugs in the body. It's impacting women, men, children aged 10 to 75 across all the age ranges, the sexes, the cultures, the professions. It increased exponentially during COVID lockdown and impacting so many lives. The Kairos Center has created the first online comprehensive sex, porn, love addiction. It's a video on demand recovery program which you can access from anywhere in the world and begin to see identifiable changes just within 6 weeks of beginning this weekly program. Kairos means your appointed time. Isn't it your time to reclaim your life? Bring color back to life without shame. Click the link below and begin your journey. You owe it to yourself and to others.
Testosterone, testosterone has a lot of challenges to it, I guess you'd say, as far as, again, as I was just mentioning, when it's not within the context of motivating a young man to try to find a mate, a lifetime mate, and doing the things that he needs to do to be able to procure that mate, which is kind of what's happened in the past. When it's just out here kind of, like a loose cannon, so to speak, then all kinds of problems comes from having the high testosterone. And again, it stays high as long as he's competing with other males for, as a single for other females. So testosterone reaches its highest levels in the late teens and early 20s. And by the way, women's sex drive doesn't, as you probably know, doesn't reach its height until late 20s and early 30s. So again, we've got a lot of mismatches going on around here. I have named this the testosterone trap. And during this adolescent and emerging, I call male danger zone, young men have a much higher chance of death by all causes than young women. And again, these are round numbers. It's a little less than 4 in each case, but I'm going to round it up from a high 3 to 4. They have about a 4 times greater chance in this, let's say, 15 to 25-year-old range. Okay, so again, they've gone through puberty. They've got this high level of testosterone. They don't have much prefrontal cortex yet to, try to hold it down. They don't have the GABA system, gamma-aminobutyric acid, the inhibitory system in their brain. So a lot of bad things happen along the way here. But they have a 4 times greater chance of dying. Get my 4 up here. 4 times greater chance of dying from homicide, suicide, drug overdoses, and car wrecks than a female in the same age group. I'll say that again. Because of this situation with the testosterone, I call it the testosterone trap or the male danger zone. I guess the testosterone trap really leads to the male danger zone. They have a 4 times greater chance of dying from homicide, suicide, car accidents, or drug overdose, because there's a lot of acting out going on. And again, in the past, the 1950s and 60s in the United States, the median age for marriage was age 20. And so when you have young people marrying younger, and these boys to men going into jobs and having their testosterone levels lowered by the commitment, first of all, and then secondly, by having children probably pretty early on, which again lowers a male's testosterone. Having a child and holding it, having skin to skin contact through pheromones, it lowers his testosterone levels by 50%. I'll give you the rest of the details on that later. But so again, without that process happening, then we have a lot of these things that are going on with our young men, killing each other, running into each other in cars, drugs, that type of thing. So some more stats for you on what I'm talking about. Males murdering other males occurs most from ages of 18 to 25, and more frequently in unmarried rather than married men. So most of the killing we have, and this is particularly true here in the United States, in our big cities around gangs, most of the killing is happening by young unmarried men to other young unmarried men. Around 2/3 of males killing males results from social conflict rather than crime. So it isn't generally, again, 2/3 of it is not about drugs, not over money and drugs and that type of thing. It's over a social conflict. It's showing out who's dominant over which gang's dominant over the other gang, which individual young man is dominant over the other young man, and they're showing out. And I always say this again with the college groups. In a lot of cases, the young women who they're trying to impress, the young women aren't even paying attention, and so there's so many tragic deaths that we could avoid with this. More than half of these murders I just talked about, 2/3 of the males killing males results from social conflict rather than crime. More than half of these murders are related to status competition. So the majority of your killings in the cities, your killings in gang related situations are about status competition with unmarried young men in that testosterone trap time period, that 15 to 25-year-old time period. And then to top that off, here in the United States, at least, maybe similar in UK, 93.3% of people incarcerated in federal prisons in the US are male. So you're looking at less than 7% that are female in our prisons that are incarcerated. So that age 15 to 25 is really an age where, as parents and as teachers and as folks that are in charge of young men, really important to know that this is the danger zone, the male danger zone, and we need to take steps to be able to try to help them navigate through it. All right, a little bit more here on males, and then we'll take any questions, and we'll look at optimal human relationships. Men are twice as likely to experience overall substance abuse as women. So again, I'll say that, twice as likely to experience overall substance abuse as women. An interesting kind of a contrast to that is women, as you learned in the last one, women are twice as likely to experience an STD as men are. They have twice the risk. But men are more substance abuse vulnerable. Here's the big one. They are 6 times more likely to be addicted to porn. 6 times more likely to be addicted to porn. And again, that goes to that, we talked about the medial preoptic area of the brain, where, again, it's one of the major sex drive parts of the male brain, twice as big as in the females, twice as packed with neurons. It's right behind where the optic chiasm comes in. So there's reasons that men react the way that they do. Now, on porn, we don't have to go too deeply into this, but it has the same basic mechanism, physiological mechanism as the other addictions have. It has to do with a chemical, a protein called delta phos B and CREB. And again, we can do in part 3, we could go into a deep dive on porn if you'd like, because there's a lot to be learned here with it. But just to give you the surface of it, delta phos B and CREB both lead to a really between a rock and a hard place situation. Again, mostly for young men, because it's 6 times as common in young men. But the delta phos B makes a young man sensitized to it and crave it, and the CREB part of it makes him habituates him to it, and makes him have to have more and more of it, and more extreme versions of it. So again, they're transcription factors that literally change the brain at the genetic level, and not only are young male brains more susceptible to porn, but also they're very susceptible to gaming addiction. As a matter of fact, males' brains are physically changed by gaming addiction, where women's are not. So that's why you have so many of these young men that are stuck on these games that they're playing online.